Hello and welcome to this latest episode of the Sales Circle podcast. The Sales Circle podcast is designed to help you make more sales, whether you're a salesperson, sales professional, entrepreneur, business owner, whatever you are, right? We all need sales to not just survive, but to thrive. And the Sales Circle podcast is designed to impart wisdom, stories, motivation, skills, mindsets, statistics to help you sell more. I'm your host for this podcast, Rob Spence. I'm an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach. I'm the author of 3 sales books, all available on Amazon. They're just located behind me. And the Sales Circle podcast now, we're in the second series. We're in the second series. Season 1 was some old pilots I recorded doing some interviews. Season 2, we're getting into the nitty gritty. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for getting on board. If you're watching or listening to this somewhere safe and not driving, drop a comment on our socials. I'd love to hear where you are. Now, in today's episode, we're talking about a month to improve your sales. Now, to some degree, this is a shameless plug on my 3rd book, A Month to Improve Your Sales. But I've been speaking a lot recently to business owners and some sales professionals who need to improve their sales. They need more sales. They need to improve their pipeline. They need to close more. And I authored the sales, A Month to Improve Your Sales to help anyone improve their sales in just 31 days. It's as simple as that. My intention with the book is to help anyone see an improvement, sometimes in their confidence, sometimes in their pitching, their proposing, their objection handling, all within a month. Because a month is a long time in business, right? But it also goes super quick. It goes hyper quick at times, very quickly at the minute. Time is flying by, right? And for those of you that know me well and those of you that have listened to any of the podcasts before, you'll know that I'm an avid reader, that I believe that reading is vitally important. But for many of us, we're too busy, right? We've got lives, we've got social lives. And so A Month to Improve Your Sales was written with everything that a salesperson needs, but just in sort of 20-minute increments. You know, there's 31 chapters within there, all of which are designed, to be read quickly. But if you implement each of those things over a month, you'll see that improvement in your sales. So I'm going to talk in a moment about my motivations for the book, why I wrote it. But before we go anywhere, before we go on, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, share this with a couple of your friends, and let's crack on with the main part of the episode, shall we? So I've kind of alluded in that introduction as to why I authored A Month to Improve Your Sales, located actually just over my shoulder, funnily enough. I wrote A Month to Improve Your Sales. It was my 3rd sales book that I'd authored because, as you can see, and also for you, avid listeners, avid watchers, you'll see that we've changed set again. So we're now back into Studio 2 and we've just had a change around. So we've still got, if you were to turn the camera around, you'll still see the paneling that some of our earlier episodes have got. And sometimes we'll switch over to the paneling. But I needed a space to put my library, and so I thought I'd bring it in here. But the intention with the book was to provide an easy reading resource, because I've read every book that's on these bookshelves, right? And, I don't know where the camera cuts off, but there's like another shelf or 2 above that. There's obviously some shelves below me. We've got another bookcase situated here, and there's some other books stored to my right. I've read every single one of these books and more. And I attribute a lot of my success in sales and business to reading. I genuinely do. Reading allowed me a bit of an escape at times when you feel like you're trapped within a business, when you feel like you're trapped within, within a product or service that you're selling. But it also gave me knowledge. It gave me confidence. It gave me a drive. It gave me the skill set. It gave me a push to become the best salesperson I could become. And I believe that every salesperson, every business owner, every CEO should mirror that. But as I alluded to earlier, it's time, right? How do you get the time to read books? How do you get the time to constantly attend webinars, seminars, and to continue your knowledge journey? And with A Month to Improve Your Sales, I sat down and thought about sort of the key 31 lessons that I think any sales professional should have. These things that in my opinion are critical for sales success and should really sort of be highlighted moving forward. And each chapter, look, you could devour a chapter within 20 minutes. Some are a bit shorter, some are a bit longer. The intention being, you read that chapter a day, and at the end of it, you get some good knowledge. And the book's done superbly well. It's available to buy on Amazon and all good charity shops, I've no doubt. But you can pick up a Kindle edition and paperback format. There are plans to get a hardback version out soon. But the book is available on Amazon. Please do go grab a copy. And as always, there will be a link below. But we've always had sort of good feedback, good reviews, and the books have sold worldwide. So thank you. Maybe you're coming across this because you have read the book. I'm not too sure. Look, in the grand scheme of things, it's for anyone. Whether you are a business owner, a salesperson, entrepreneur, CEO, whoever you are, a sales manager, sales director, you could even work in customer service. Maybe you're exploring getting into sales. My intention with the book was to be a nice entry level into knowledge within sales and reading. So I want to break down the structure of the book. I want to kind of talk to you about why I think that these are so important for salespeople as well. So let's jump into it, shall we? Like I said earlier, I don't want this to become a sales pitch. There are 3 key learnings from the book that I will share with you in due course. But let's break down the book for a second, shall we? So let me just see if I can reach this book behind me. So here it is here. You can see it's not a massive book. And I'm going to read to you some of the chapters, if I may, so you can kind of get an inkling as to what we talk about. So we're talking about questioning techniques, gatekeeper management and gatekeeper conversations, the theories behind social selling, objection handling, sales call reluctance, public speaking, listing your objections early, so how to stay healthy as a salesperson, test close, hitting sales targets, and much, much more. And like I say, there's 31 chapters in here, all of which are designed to kind of break things, down into easily recognizable chunks. Now, let me just stick that book behind me again. I've kind of made a note of some of the key things. If you look at the goal setting and accountability, we've just finished up an episode recently where we're talking about the importance of realistic goals, maybe sometimes not just sales targets, but sort of motivational goals, enhanced goals for yourself, for your career, for your love life, for your personal life, whatever it is. We talk a lot about that in prospecting and lead generation. Once again, we've just finished up an episode where we talk about the importance of, prospecting, and actually why prospecting to some degree is easier and better than closing deals to some degree. The importance of genuine relationship building. Rapport is what sort of historically we would call it within sales. And once again, I've authored another book, Relationship Selling, which is all about the importance of developing relationships within sales, right? We talk a lot about objection handling. Hey, I've just delivered a sales training session to my team here, all about objection handling, about the importance of handling objections and not just kind of giving up when you hear an objection, and sort of being passionate, dedicated, and true to yourself enough to truly, push that along. We talk a lot about closing techniques and how we can close sales. Because although, yes, I said earlier the rapport build, that prospecting is a key important part of the sales process. And of course it is. Look, my theory is if you sell, if you prospect more and you speak to more people at that sort of top of the funnel, the chances are you're going to close more sales down the line. Of course, in an ideal world, you want both to improve, right? You want to have a clear funnel that's incredible, mixed with incredible closing techniques. Like, of course you want to do that. But we fill up that funnel and the rest goes on. So, as I said earlier, there's kind of 3 key takeaways. Actually, no, 3.5. 3.5 takeaways I want to share with you. And I'll share those with you in just a second. This podcast is brought to you by Paragon Creative Studios, a podcast creative studio based in the heart of Leicestershire in the UK, with plenty of space to hire out for podcast recording, video recording, and the expertise to help you produce your own podcast. Please visit paragoncreativestudios.co.uk. I said earlier that there's kind of 3.5 key takeaways from the book, right? And I don't want to kind of ruin too much about what we talk about in the book, but number one, I think, is the importance of consistency, right? If you look at the best performing salespeople in the world, and maybe you can think about your team and people you work with, if you look at those that are consistent within your team, I have no doubt they're more than likely to be the most successful within your team. You know, they're not just hit and hope. They won't do a flurry of LinkedIn posts and then stop for 2 months, then a flurry of LinkedIn posts and then stop for 2 months, right? They will naturally, you know, daily, consistently, they'll prospect, they'll post on LinkedIn, they'll follow up with their clients, they will attend networking events. They're not just hit and hopers, but even better than that, they consistently, you know, develop those relationships. Once again, they don't just kind of hit a relationship hard and then kind of forget about it and move on to the next shiny thing. They've got many stokes and many fires. I think that's the right word in there, I think. Remember, sales success is built on daily actions, not just occasional bursts of them. Daily actions are what will make you a truly successful person. And my key tip, we did a whole episode about this, but create a daily routine if you truly want to. Create a daily routine where you know exactly what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing it, and it's going to be a non-negotiable. So what time are you aligning for your prospecting? What time are you aligning for your follow-ups? What time are you aligning for closing calls? What time are you aligning for demos? What time are you aligning for just for your admin and CRM? If you do those on a daily basis, I've no doubt you'll see some great success. Now, there's that old adage in sales, right? We've got two of these and one of these for a reason, right? We should be listening more and we should be talking less. It's funny, I say it's an old adage, but many salespeople forget to do it. Many business owners forget to do it. Many team leaders forget to do it, right? They dictate and we tell people what we think, and actually we should be listening more. We should be ingesting that information. The more, you know, data, that's all it is to some degree. The more data we are ingesting, the better. So what can you be doing to listen more and actively listening? Remember, active listening isn't just about the umming and the ahhing and the nodding of the head. Active listening is repeating sentences back, is truly engaging with your customer and your client so that you can prove to them that you truly understand what it is they're saying. You know, and those questioning techniques can truly, those active listening techniques can really help with your questioning and understanding of your prospects and who they are and what they want to become, right? And finally, don't be afraid to close the sale. Just don't be afraid. Now, I was working with a sales team very recently, actually, and we were talking about closing, and there was a degree of nervousness, I will say, around closing. They felt, and to some degree they feared, that closing a sale was the be-all and end-all. It was the scary thing, right? It was the horrific thing. And they're worried that closing sales was going to push their customers away. It was going to push people away. And they felt that closing didn't really align with their sales process. But if we're not closing sales, we're not making sales, right? And I think we all think of closing a sale as being that cold hard, right, here's the pen, sign on the dotted line for me, you are now my customer or client. And to some degree, that is scary. But remember, when we're closing anyone, we shouldn't necessarily always think about closing them to become a customer, closing them to become a client. We should be thinking about how we can close them onto the next part of the sales process. Could we, for example, close them to a future meeting? Could we close them for a coffee meet? Can we close them for another phone call? Can we close them to agree a follow-up time? Whatever it is, you know, it doesn't have to be, yeah, look, I'm now going to close you. It's just questioning to the effect of, can we meet for a coffee next week? Shall we talk about this proposal over lunch? To some degree, that's all closing is. As long as we're clearly labeling the next steps, as long as we're clearly asking for the next steps, as long as we're asking our prospect for where we need to be, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, I said there was 3.5 takeaways from the book. We've gone through the main three: the consistency, the active listening, and the closing. So what's the 0.5? Well, the 0.5 is something that's really true to my heart. We've got to continuously learn. I will always judge a person based on the amount of books they read and the amount of learning and studying they do, right? I'm going to be harsh here. I don't care how busy you are. You have time to learn. You have time to read. You have time to digest information. You know, I see people scrolling social media. They scroll Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or X. But apparently they don't have time to read. They'll sit on the toilet and scroll TikTok videos, but they don't have time to read. They'll, piss about playing on video games and doing nothing and just literally wasting time watching a box set on Netflix, but they don't have time to read. You have time to read. You have time to study. I'm going to say that to you right now. And fair kudos to you. I'm going to say that if you are listening or watching this podcast right now, which you clearly are, then clearly you value learning. You value that knowledge. But many salespeople don't, right? And I've gone into sales rooms and sales teams, and I've delivered sales training, and I've said, look, you know what? When was the last time you had any training? When was the last time you learned? Oh, when I first joined 20 years ago. Oh my God. Look, how bad is that, right? Sales is a continuous learning journey, no different to any kind of, what's the word? CDP? No, CDP? CPD, sorry. Continuous professional development. I'm going to vouch for, the fact that salespeople need some kind of CPD to make sure that they're understanding current trends, topics, new ways of talking to people, cultural differences, and everything else in between. They should be. So let's talk a little bit about some sort of real life stories and why this book truly matters to salespeople all over the world. So as I said earlier, this book has sold, all over the globe, all over the world. I don't think there's a continent that the book hasn't touched. And all you've got to do is go on Amazon and look at the reviews for the book. And lots of people rave and rate about it. I've got one reader who implemented some of the habits from the book, and they say that they saw a 20% increase in monthly revenue, which is not anything to be sniffed at, especially for a book that's valued at 10 quid or something like that. I don't know. Tom, who lives up in Manchester, said he broke, due to the book, he broke his sales processes in smaller manageable tasks that helped him consistently hit his targets for the first time. So it goes to show, look, if you're wanting to see an improvement in your sales in 31 days or within a month, whatever, this book is a key thing. I'd say, let's transition nicely into listeners' questions, because we always implement some listeners' questions from people that are watching the podcast, that are listening to the podcast. And I really value everyone's questions. Of course, if you want your question read out, if you've got any burning questions you want answered, maybe, you're stuck on a prospect who's not buying, that's not closing, let me know. Let's collectively talk to one another and see how we can help. Maybe you're constantly facing a certain struggle in sales. I had an individual reach out to me just yesterday, could have been the day before actually, who said that she struggled with prospecting and that cold outreach, and we're going to do some more work on that in due course. So this one's from anonymous, from a listener in London. They say, how do I stay committed to learning and reading books every day? It becomes a habit. It's got to become a habit. My number one tip is, whenever you start reading a book, no matter what book it is, set your goal, your daily target. Now, what I used to do was I simply, and it's very rudimentary, set out 15 pages a day. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Anyway, you get the idea. So I'd get my 15 pages and I'd have 2 bookmarks. Put 1 bookmark here, 1 bookmark there. That was my target for the day. Now, when you think about it, 15 pages is actually 30 pages back to back. Now, that's that chunk of the book. You could read that within a day. Easy. That's how I used to do things. Of course, you can break things down into chapter, however you want to. Maybe you are absolutely crammed for time. Break it down to 10 pages. Maybe you got more time. Do 20 pages. But that's what helped me devour a book a week. It really allowed me to learn and ingest information really, really quickly. But as I said earlier, I think the key thing is to set those daily habits. For me, my reading became an obsession. And it became a case of, if I didn't read, I felt weird. I had to do it. It became a habit. So make sure you set those habits, set those goals. Don't beat yourself up if you miss them. But like many habits, by 21 days or something, it'll become a habitual routine that you just can't escape. So thanks very much for the question. This one's from James. James says, what's the biggest mistake people make when working through the book? I think there's one thing in reading the book, but there's another thing in implementing what you learn within the book, right? We can all read a book. We can all listen to this podcast just for a bit of fun and not really paying too much attention. But those that truly succeed are those that sort of go above and beyond and truly ingest that information and learn a bit more further down the line. So, and see good results from it. So make sure that, yes, you are reading the book, but make sure you're implementing what you're learning from it. What can you take from each chapter? can you implement in your day? And if you make each of those 31 things, once again, a daily habit, my goodness, your business will fly. Sarah in Birmingham, thank you very much for this. What's next after completing the book? Well, look, there's an array of things you can do. Like I said earlier, the key thing is to implement what you've learned and develop your career. I do have other books available. You know, I've got The Paragon Mindset and Relationship Selling. We keep hinting at further books down the line. The Sales Circle book should be out later on this year, so please keep your eyes peeled for that. But there is also an online course. So if you go to Paragon Sales Solutions, click on online courses, you'll see a course that kind of accompanies the book. And normally we can get those quite cost effective for you. So maybe you've read the book and you want to take that learning and that knowledge a bit further, then hey, go and do the course. Take that knowledge one step further. But they're the 3 listener questions this week. Thank you so much for sending them in. Don't forget, if you do have any burning questions, any burning problems, anything that you want to share, send them in. You can email thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com or just message us anywhere on social media, and myself or one of the team will pick them up and we'll kind of align your question to a certain topic that we're going to do. And maybe you've got a topic that you want to dive deeper in. We'll put it into a list ready to reveal as a full episode at some point. So thanks so much for your questions. It truly, truly is appreciated. So we are coming to the end of this episode. You know, as I tend to say, I don't think I've said it in this episode yet. You know, look, we want to try and keep these under 30 minutes. We don't want to bore you with too much. And these should be a nice, ideal thing on your way into work, on your way from work. You know, we know people that listen to them during their lunch breaks. It gives you some motivation and some sales drive, you know, in a short amount of time, right? And we're going to do our book recommendation now. Can you guess what book we're going to recommend this week? It's a given, right? We're going to do A Month to Improve Your Sales. Now, I think we've recommended this book before, but it is a fantastic book. And look, I can't sell it any more than what we've discussed, right? If you truly want a sales book that's going to sort of change the way you think in just a short amount of time, that's going to help you revolutionize the way you handle your sales process, your mindset, this book is for you. And as I said earlier, whether you are a salesperson, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a CEO, entrepreneur, whatever it is, right? This book is designed to help. It's not sort of salesperson specific. It is not business owner specific. You take from this what you want to take from this. So do go grab a copy. As always, there'll be a link below somewhere in the show notes, but just search on Amazon for A Month to Improve Your Sales and pick up your copy today. And that does just about round us up for today's episode. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and I hope this hasn't been too much of just a sales pitch for you, because that was never my intention. My intention is to get you thinking about the importance of learning, the importance of knowledge building, the importance of reading. And I think really when we think about it, A Month to Improve Your Sales is a good entry-level book. You know, look, there's an array of sales books that we've got to recommend, you know, that you're going to love over the coming weeks and months. As I said, I've digested every single book here and more that are off camera. We've got rows above, you know, where the camera cuts off. We've got ones below where my big ass is sitting. And these are books that I've all read, that I've understood, that I've digested, that I've learned from. I will never sit down and say I'm the best salesperson in the world. Jesus Christ, far from it. But I'm not too bad, right? And a lot of my passion, my confidence, and my skill set has come from learning and knowledge and everything else in between. So make sure you get into the daily habit of reading books. As the listener question earlier, you know, you're only going to sort of develop your reading and your knowledge base if you set those daily habits. So make sure you do. We've got more episodes coming up. As always, the Sales Circle comes out every single Thursday without fail. The audio will drop approximately 5:30 in the morning on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And the video hits YouTube normally at around 4:30 in the afternoon. So, of course, you can listen to it. You can watch it wherever you want. But one big ask, please do head on over to social media and hit the follow button for us on whatever platform you digest your information. We're everywhere. We are TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. We are Facebook, X. What have I missed off there? LinkedIn as well. So make sure you connect as far and wide. But thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you so much for listening to the Sales Circle. Please do grab a copy of A Month to Improve Your Sales. It's available on Amazon for only, I think it's like a tenner or whatever it is. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Until next time, all the best. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.